Good morning. Good morning to you on Zoom, including, I believe, some of my friends from the Modern Elder Academy who are joining us this morning. And hello to those of you who are watching us later. Thank you to Isabella for that beautiful rendition of Joni Mitchell, and for joining us this morning as our accompanist. And thank you to Lisa Burby, our worship associate this morning. We're going to begin, as I have begun since last spring, by lighting a candle for the people of the Ukraine and Russia, and we added to that the people of Israel and Gaza after October. These wars have to end. And we know that people are suffering on all sides, and that it is time for there to be ceasefire and diplomacy in both countries. And so I ask you to add your prayers to mine and to good people all over the world for this insanity to end. I've chosen for my opening words this morning a poem that I believe I've read to you before by Stanley Kunitz. It speaks well to this service today on aging. Stanley Kunitz, you may recall, became the Poet Laureate of the United States when he turned 95 years old. It was his second time being Poet Laureate. He had been made Poet Laureate 30 years earlier in 1974, and his poems discuss life and death and getting older, and this is one of my absolute favorite poems. He writes, "I have walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was. Though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I gather my strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling towards the horizon, and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites, over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is now scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to this feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly sting my face. Yet I turn, exalting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go. And every stone on the road is precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through the wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not in the litter. Live in the layers, not in the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I, my friends, am not done with my changes yet." So in that spirit, and in recognition that no matter how old you are, we are all getting older each and every day, and none of us know how long we have, we are going to sing hymn number 6 in the gray hymnal, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Please rise in body and spirit and join your voices. 17. Wow, okay. This is because I decided number 6 was better, but you don't have the words, so we'll do 17. And Isabella's gonna play it through for you once. Thank you. 6 would have been better.
As Steve joins me to light the chalice, our reading is, "My heart is moved by all I cannot save." My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Thank you. Hello, my name's Lisa Burby. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the worship associate this morning. I have a few announcements. Today is the first jazz concert of the Natalie Ray Memorial Concert Series, honoring a longtime member of this fellowship. It's at 5 p.m. at St. John's Church in Huntington. For more information, look in this week's e-newsletter, The Flash. You can participate in the newcomer and new member orientation to Unitarian Universalism and to our fellowship on Saturday, March 30th, from 9:30 to noon. Presenters include Reverend Deborah and fellowship leaders presenting social justice, congregational governance, finance, UUFH history, and more. For more information, RSVP to Shelley Lauer-Bader, and her email is in the flash. Also, save the date for the annual UUFH Auction Gala, Saturday, April 6th at 7 p.m. You can bid virtually and in person on parties, services, food, and so much more. For more information, you guessed it, you can find it in the flash. And if you don't yet get our weekly newsletter every Thursday, you can sign up on our homepage, uufh.org. And now, please join me in our mission statement. The words will be on the screen. In religious community, we nurture our individual spirits through caring for one another and helping to heal the world.
This is the time in our service where we invite you to come forward or go to the back to light a candle for a joy or concern or sorrow in your heart. Sue McGovern, are you my person? Sue McGovern from the Pastoral Care Committee will be here with a basket that has some cards if you haven't written your joy or concern in advance that you'd like to have shared aloud. Anyone who wishes to come forward may do so now while Isabella plays for us. I lit a candle this morning for a colleague of mine named Reverend Helen Murda, who was a UU minister who was hit by a truck and killed in Massachusetts this week on her way to testify. And so UU ministers around the country are holding her and the people of her congregation in our hearts this morning. This says, "Happy birthday to my best friend George," and then there's a paw print. It's a candle for Megan, for Bill's surgery. Dolly wants us to know that her sister-in-law, Lydian, has passed away, and she's thinking of her family. I'm so sorry, Dolly. It's a candle for concern and care for the earth and all her inhabitants. A note, I think, to me that says J Street has a peace plan for the Middle East. And this is a candle to the people of Israel and Palestine. So would you please join me in some quiet moments on your own for reflection, meditation, and prayer? The book of Ecclesiastes concentrates on the issue of aging and aging well. Ecclesiastes 3 says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven." And so on this day where it feels like spring is finally coming, we know that joys and sorrows, as we sang, are woven fine. We hold in our hearts those who are missing a sister-in-law, a colleague, a minister, those who are facing surgery this week, and their loved ones who are frightened. We hold in our hearts all among us who are struggling with disease or illness, waiting for a diagnosis, having long COVID, struggling with mental health issues. We know that some seasons are hard. And we are grateful that in community, we can sometimes see another season of the earth as it turns, a season to celebrate a good day, a pet who makes us happy, the sounds of a child reminding us that life is ever blooming, ever joining us. And we take the time to hear the quiet voice inside us saying, "Thank you. Thank you for this day, this time together, this community, this moment, for it is the only moment we know for sure we have." Amen. So may it be. So will the children join me up here? I have a few more children here. Thank you. Margaret, are you coming? Oh, come on, Jane, I need you. Not yet. So today, you all, we're talking about getting older. So I have some questions for you. Raise your hand if you're looking forward to your next birthday and being a year older than you are now. Yeah? Okay, so how many of the grown-ups are looking forward to the next age? Okay, good for the hands up. And so I have some questions. You guys, I know there aren't a lot of you this morning, but when you think of a person who's old, what do you think of?
What?
When you think of somebody who's old, what do you think of?
I don't know.
You don't know. Somebody help me. Lila. No?
When a person is old, that means it's a big number. So if they're old, it's going to be a big number.
That's good. Can I ask you how big that number could be?
What did you say?
How big is that number? Give me a big number for old.
100.
Okay, that's good. So, first slide, Deb. So, on the left over here is what's called a word cloud, and they asked a group of people, what do you think of when you think of old? And can I ask you to read me a couple of the words that are big, because those are the words that come up a lot.
Old, forgetful, slow, poor, frail, grumpy, sick, lonely, helpless.
So, kind of sad words, right? And I think when people sometimes think of old, they think of she looks like a nice lady, right? She's sitting in her rocking chair and she's knitting and she's smiling. You don't get the idea that she's about to go dancing though, right? Yeah. So I want to show you a woman who died this week, who many of you may recognize this name, Iris of Hell. She died at 102. I want you guys to look at her picture. So she doesn't look like that lady in the rocking chair, does she? No. And I want you to know that I wore this skirt in her honor and my red cowboy boots this morning. Because what do you think of her?
She looks like an old lady.
Really? Even with all that fabulous clothes? Yeah? Okay. Do any of you think she looks fabulous? Yeah. Do you all think she looks fabulous? And you know what? She worked until she died. She had a whole clothing line and she had a designer line. So you think she looks old. Okay, so I'm going to show you the next picture. So do any of you know who those ladies are? Do you all know who that is? Ready? So Christy Brinkley and do you want to take a guess how old they are?
60?
60, okay. Anybody else?
70.
You know what? They're 70. Do you know who else is 70? Or is going to be 70? You know.
You?
Me. So I want to know, do you all think I'm old?
Yeah.
So Wilco's, you don't get to bring her back again. No, I'm teasing. Of course you can come back. Do the rest of you who know me think I'm old? Do I look like do I sit and knit? No. Yeah, Ava wants to say something else.
I think she doesn't knit.
She doesn't knit, yeah. You. No, I don't knit. In fact, I knit really badly. I wish I could knit. So these women are turning 70, and so, what might be we saw those kind of not positive words about getting old. What might be some positive words about getting old? Can you all think of anything positive?
The lady on the left is like she's wearing something fancy.
Kind of sexy.
No, fancy.
Fancy. Okay. Yeah. So you could be fancy when you're old. Certainly, Iris Appel was pretty fancy. The lady who died at 102, right? What might be good about getting older?
Good. If you want to get older, you just have to wait until it's your birthday.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Can any of you think of some other good words for getting older?
You'll know more.
You'll know more. So wisdom is a really big part of getting older, or at least we hope so.
You'll be more responsible.
We get more responsible.
You can be old.
You're still here. That's a big thing. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking to the grown-ups about what's good about as we get older and age. And you know what? All of you are aging. Does that seem funny? But every day you get a little older. From the time we're born until the time we're not here, we're all aging. So we want to think about, there's a word, people talk about ageism. Do any of you want to guess what that means? Is that a hand, Lila? No. You know what ageism means?
I think I do. Ages means that you get bigger ages. You get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger ages.
So that might be aging. Ageism is a word like racism. So we've talked with you all in Sunday school classes. So racism is when we treat people badly because of their race, or because of their color. Well, ageism is assumptions about people as they get old. And there are people who think older people, especially older people over a certain age, like 65 or 70 or 75 or 80, like people don't treat them with all the rights they deserve. So we want you to know that it's important to treat everybody, right, with the dignity and respect that we believe they have. Okay, so we're going to sing you out to your classes with Miss Sandra. We'll help you find your classes. Let us sing Go Now in Peace. Thank you all for your help this morning.
Each week, we have a collection for our split plate program. That means that undesignated donations are split between the fellowship and our charity of the month unless you indicate otherwise. This month, we're supporting the Long Island Doula Association Community Support Fund, a multi-professional organization operated on the paradigm that pregnancy, birth, and postpartum are normal processes, and that with proper support and education, families can be empowered during this time. They and its members provide evidence-based information and positive support, education, and care for women in the early stages of motherhood, from conception through postpartum. Ushers will be passing the baskets while Isabella plays, and for those of you at home, you can send a check to the office or donate through the website. We also accept Zelle. And thank you for your support for the work we do within and beyond these walls. Our reading this morning is an excerpt by Chip Conley. Chip Conley is leading a movement to redefine middle age as 35 to 75 and to differentiate the old from those of us who are active and involved. He wrote, "Yes, we grow old, but we also grow whole. Learning to integrate all of who we are means we don't feel so compartmentalized. Even our brains move into a more holistic place where we're better able to connect the dots and trust our intuition. We understand our strengths and weaknesses and are familiar with our shadow. Our authentic character shines true. We now have time to explore the mysteries of life and experience more awe and curiosity."
Thanks, Lisa. I spent a long time this week looking for uplifting songs about getting older. Most of what I found was really depressing. So if you want to feel depressed, Google Paul Simon and Garfunkel's Old Friends, written when they were in their 20s, and watch the video that goes with it. I don't think they had a clue. So I finally found this 2023 Grammy-nominated song and video to share with you. This is Jordan Davis. It's great, right? And for those of us of a certain age, it rings kind of true, right? It goes faster than you think. In fact, growing old kind of snuck up on me. I remember getting out of a swimming pool in a community when I was 30, and a teenage boy said to me, "Excuse me, ma'am." Ma'am? And then I remember having my first publicity photos done when I was in my mid-30s, and the photographer called and asked me if he should airbrush my wrinkles that I didn't know I had. And some of you may relate. I remember the first time when I was 40 and I was giving a speech and I had to do this. Or how about that letter from AARP, who goodness knows how they know you're about to turn 50, and they send you that letter. And I remember the first time it happened here in Huntington that the person at the Dunkin' Donuts gave me the senior discount without my asking for it. So I know it's a cliche, but with each passing year, I am more and more aware of how quickly time passes. Today's college freshmen, and a few of you here have college freshmen, were born in 2001. 2001, I have clothes in my closet that are older than 2001. They will graduate from college in 2027, more than 50 years after I graduated from college. And they have always lived in a post-9/11 world. They've always had the internet. I've got one young person here, I see you. You've always had a smartphone. You've always had YouTube. You've always had Instagram, streaming services. And this year's freshman class is the first college class which will have full access to artificial intelligence as they grow through college. So that list probably makes some of the 30 and 40-year-olds here feel a little old. As I told the children, we are all aging from birth to older age. And if we are lucky, if we have good genes, if we have no major medical catastrophe, no devastating physical accident, and we take care of ourselves, we are likely to live at least until our mid-80s. I am one of 74 million baby boomers in the US who are now entering their older years. Now, I have to tell you, who are my baby boomers? So, right? Oh, look at you. A lot of you are my baby boomers. Somehow, I can't see our generation agreeing to be labeled golden agers, or senior citizens, or even elderly people. So I've been waiting for someone to coin a new term for us. Chip Conley, who Lisa introduced you to, did just that. He has renamed us the modern elder. And he says midlife is between 35 and 75. So that just surprised a 36-year-old. And may have surprised some of the 75-year-olds that you are still considered to be in midlife. But what we know is that today's adults have a longer life expectancy than previous generations. People who were born in 1900, on average, the life expectancy was 65. Our average life expectancy, if you get past the first few years, is 85. So we have been granted some 20 to 30 years of additional adulthood, of additional productive adulthood. And unlike the stereotypes of the infirm older generation you saw on that slide, only 1 in 20 people aged 75 to 84 live in a nursing home, and fewer than 1 in 5 older people over the age of 85 need nursing care. 85% of adults who are over the age of 75 say they are satisfied with their life. And most people these ages who have partners remain sexually active and satisfied through their years. In fact, lifetime satisfaction peaks for people in their 60s and 70s. The lowest satisfaction in life is for people in their 30s and 40s. So there's actually a U-curve of satisfaction in life when you ask. So the happiest people we have are very young people and people. Okay, I was just making sure that wasn't an alarm that was going off, between people in their 60s and 70. But as you heard from the children, negative stereotypes abound. You learned as a child about the old woman in the shoe, or the old witch in Hansel and Gretel. You remember that song, there was an old woman who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. And even though now we live at a time with ever-present ads for erectile dysfunction that feature attractive older couples sitting in bathtubs on top of hills, by the way, as a sexologist, I've never understood that. We still have the cultural stereotypes, right, of the dirty old man, the feeble and withdrawn older woman. We still hear ads of old people yelling, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up." Psychologist Erik Erikson, who died at the age of 92, wrote about the 8 stages of psychosocial development. And he said, quote, "Lacking a culturally viable ideal of old age, our civilization does not harbor a concept of the whole of life." He labeled the period from 45 to 65 as a time of generativity, where our role is to complete our adult tasks of raising children, finishing our careers, and creating the skills and lives of the next generation. He wrote that the last stage, beginning at 65, is wisdom, and it's characterized by a struggle, he said, of integrity versus despair. When he was writing 20 years ago, he said, "When you turn 65, you need to ask yourself, have I lived a full life?" But I see it differently now. So in today's world, where 60 is the beginning of what I and others are calling our third act, we have the good fortune to be able to ask ourselves, what do I want to do next? What haven't I done yet? What is there left for me to enjoy and experience? Erikson and his wife Judy gave an interview to the New York Times when they were in their 80s. And to quote the article, Mrs. Erikson said, "When we looked at the life cycle in our 40s, we looked to old people for wisdom. At 80, though, we look at other 80-year-olds to see who got wise and who didn't. Lots of old people don't get wise, but you don't get wise unless you age." The Eriksons sought in their own lives to stay active and involved. They actually bought a house in Cambridge that they rented to students and other professors so that they could stay engaged with them. And they both taught classes until they died. Now, there is a large body of scientific evidence about how we can age well. The studies all point to the same thing. We need good health, we need comfortable finances, and we need solid relationships with family and friends. In the largest prospective study of aging by Harvard researchers, the people who most enjoyed their aging years reported having more rather than fewer friends than when they were younger. The authors of the latest book on the Harvard study write to people of all ages, quote, "If we had to boil down to a single principle of living, it would be good relationships keep us healthier and happier, period. If you are going to make one choice, the single decision that can best ensure your health and happiness, science tells you your choice is to cultivate warm relationships." You may be interested to know that attending a worship service regularly adds 4 to 14 years to your life expectancy. Yeah, right. So your being actively involved here could be the key to your aging well. And it's because it gives you 2 things: purpose and relationships to build on, including intergenerational relationships with people of all ages. Our attitude about aging matters. A study found that people who feel younger than their psychological age are, quote, typically healthier and more psychologically resilient than those who feel older. And having a positive view of aging, so not that bunch of negative words, but in your head, if you think aging is like a really great, cool thing, according to a Yale professor, that extends your lifespan by 7.5 years, as much as giving up 15 cigarettes of smoking a day. So how you think about aging is going to make a difference in how you age. It turns out that you're only as old as you feel is actually what the research says. Sister Joan Chittister wrote a book called The Gift of Years about a decade ago, and she wrote this about turning 70. "We find ourselves at the greatest moment of choice we've ever had, at least since we left home on our own. since we identified what we want to do in life, since we made that first big career move, since we decided to settle down, now we again get to decide how to live without being told how it's done. The slate is clean. The days are ours. The task is to learn how to live anew. Now, it is true that there are physical challenges to getting older. When I was in my 30s, a friend of my family whose name was Ida Davidoff was in her 80s. She was a therapist, and she was giving a talk on how to successfully age. And I have never forget what she told us. She said, if you wake up at 60 and nothing hurts, you probably died. I have to admit that's kind of true for me. But the most difficult part of aging, I think, is that it brings a growing and unforgiving awareness of our own mortality. I am acutely aware that at most I have 15, 20, 25 years of productive, engaged life ahead of me. And those 20 years, they're going to pass pretty quickly, just like in that video. So I'm thinking a lot about what is important for me to do in these next 10 years. Who do I want to be with? What adventures do I still have to have? What do I want my legacy to be? And I need to start thinking about, and I encourage those of you 70 and older to be thinking about, where do you want to live after 85? When you are likely to start being old. And as a wise person once said to me, if you don't decide where you're going to be 85 to 95 to 100 and make plans to live there, someone else is going to decide it for you. So make the plans. I am beginning to wonder about retirement. It's hard for me to picture myself not working. I'm guessing, is it hard for you to picture me not working? Yes, thank you for the nods. But I'm really thinking about those 10 years. At the Modern Elder Academy, they encouraged us to consider taking a gap year. So just the way 18-year-olds take a year off before college or 22-year-olds take a year off, they said if you've been working 30, 40, 50 years, you deserve a gap year. So you don't have to immediately retire. You can think about what would you fill a gap year with. And I got to tell you, that may be what happens next year. I've learned that people who do best after their full time of work replace their work identity with a new identity, that you have to stay relevant and up to date on technology, that you should seek out time with younger people and continue to make new relationships and to fill your time with meaningful activities. And I think many of the successful elders who are here with us today would agree with that. But mortality can become real at any age. Kate Fowler, a Duke University theologian, faced cancer in her 30s and wrote about her diagnosis. She said, I think the same thoughts again and again. Life is so beautiful, and life is so hard. Her book ends with these words, I will die, yes, but not today. And so, my friends, so will all of us. Perhaps at too young an age, perhaps at a very advanced age. A spiritual challenge is to come to grips with the idea and the reality that life is 100% fatal. But as one of Baller's friends counsels her, quote, the secret is don't skip to the end. Don't skip to the end. I am inspired by these words from the great poet Mary Oliver that can speak to us at any age. She wrote, when it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I do not want to wonder, have I made of my life something particular, something real? I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. So I am determined to simply not having visited this world. I hope you are too. I pray that you live well now, that you pay attention to now, that you make each day count no matter how old you are. Pay attention to this day, for this day will not come around again. Please join us in singing another one of my favorite hymns. This time I've got it right. Number 128, For All That Is Our Life. And let me ask you to pay attention to the words as you sing them. Please stand in body or in spirit and join your voices. The closing words this morning are from the poet John O'Donohue, who died unexpectedly at age 52 of a heart attack right before bedtime with the woman he had met 7 months earlier, who he said was his soulmate of his life. And this is what he said about aging. May the light of your soul mind you. May all your worries and anxiousness about becoming old be transfigured. May you be given a wisdom with the eye of your soul to see this beautiful time of harvesting. May you be blessed, and may you find a wonderful love in yourself, for yourself. My friends, go in peace. May our real service begin. And now I have chosen for you for the postlude, not only because it reflects on our life as a circle, but because it's being sung by 80-year-old Joni Mitchell, who wrote it, supported by 42-year-old Brandy Carlisle, a wonderful example of mentorship, intergenerational friendship, and care, And I'm going to invite you, because I know most of you know this, to please join when they sing the chorus.
Thank you, Reverend Deborah, for that very thoughtful and passionate service, and Isabella for your music. And for those of you at home, have a wonderful day. And for those of you here, we have social hour right now in the social hall, and you can speak with Reverend Deborah on your way out. And you should also have a wonderful day.